Where things really get nutty though is when we jump to the early 2010s, in which Brown would find himself caught in a web of controversy. In May of 2012, a man named Michael Arnett was arrested after a sting operation. He was charged with the production of, and upon searching his home and computer, they would find chat logs on Yahoo Messenger between he and a person going by the name U.E. Lime. As it turned out, Arnett would produce these images and distribute them to various others online from the username CK3666, Sweet Talker Linda, and Calf Keeper 2. You'll notice that U.E. Lime was outward about their desires. They expressed interest in cannibalism, torture, sexual assault, and all of it was directed towards children, even as young as 2. The catch here, though, is that U.E. Lime wasn't just a random person. It was Ronald Brown, his secret online alias in which he'd express his fantasy about the kids he surrounded himself with daily. Let me remind you that this was a man whose entire career, entire life, was centered around associating with kids. Someone who was, at one point, on television in front of thousands. To say that these chat logs were a bad look would be putting it lightly. And yes, the messages you're seeing are straight out of the official case file. After corresponding with Yahoo.com, authorities were able to track down Ronald Brown and tie his username to a profile on a necrophilia website named cutedeadguys.net. Ronald's profile has been lost to time. However, through his own case report, we're able to find details describing it. On this site, his bio read, "I love them young and dead. I enjoy them fresh, but like to see them displayed in their casket too." And a few snippets from his post history. "I like the blonde boy, would love to snuff him. Very hot pics. That boy looks dead, I like that one. I'd love to kill them." It's safe to say that at this point, there was more than enough to warrant an arrest. And on July 19th of 2012, that notion would finally become a reality.
Federal marshals arrested a Largo man for possessing and conspiring to kidnap a child. They say he was a puppeteer who performed for children in the Bay Area. News Channel 8's Yolanda Fernandez has been following this story for us. She is joining us live tonight from Pinellas County.
Well, Keith, 57-year-old Ron Brown is here in the Pinellas County Jail tonight. Federal investigators say it was his gruesome and very graphic online chats with the known...
Brown's house was raided, and scattered across his home were images of pictures of kids being tied up, and even some that appeared to be dead. Furthermore, agents found CDs with much of the same material, a blow-up sex doll dressed in boys' clothes, a journal he kept about his fantasies dating back to 1978, and even books about serial killers and cannibalism. He was eventually found guilty of possession of and was sentenced to 20 years in federal prison with a lifetime of supervision thereafter. Had he lived out his full sentence, he would be out sometime in 2033. However, as of August of 2020, it's reported that he is now deceased. My heart goes out to the children who had to suffer for the pleasure of this monster and all of those who associated with him. For his entire life, he was calculated and knew what he was doing. His career, his church van favors, his company parties, all a front for some of the darkest desires imaginable. In hindsight, I understand why Joy Junction's records were wiped. It was a show with a good premise and good intentions, I won't deny that. However, now bears a reputation forever stained by the devil hidden within them.